the ways in which we
like
embark.
Sharks?
Well, if we thought more like them, we'd be a lot more successful.
How so?
They have a very, very simple manifesto, which is they have,
Eat.
well,
Ultimately, you know, it explores this idea of like maybe this character is, you know, a good person, but ultimately corporations have no soul.
I'm a pervert with a capital P, boy. P-ervert with a capital P.
Today, while the economy is inching back toward a recovery, a group of young entrepreneurs is doing their part to turn things around. Luke Tipple joins us from the Extreme Entrepreneurship Tour, which has been touring the US and California in particular, encouraging young people to start their own business, using some successful young business people as their role models. And later, the director and lead actor from the film The Loneliest Road in America. But first up, Luke Tipple, the marine biologist and director of the nonprofit Shark-Free Marinas. Great to have you here today, Luke.
very much pleasure.
So with the economy kind of in the tank or trying to get out of the tank, I guess starting your own business is kind of a good idea. So what are you out there teaching these young people?
Well, we're teaching people the skills and motivation behind being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is really about taking control of your life and your business and creating something for yourself that you then have control over. And that's a direction that not many of the conventional educational systems are giving people these days. So it's a really reawakening of that, the entrepreneurial spirit within people.
Sure, yeah, and no better time than the present.
Absolutely.
Which was actually kind of a coincidence, right? Because this was this started because of the economy, or it was just kind of an entrepreneurship program that they had going?
Yeah, it's a I guess a stimulus package at the moment for people's business sense, but just by accident, it really is so relevant to today. It's been around since about 2006. We've been seeing a lot of economic downturn lately, which I guess has certainly helped its popularity.
Well, you mentioned the stimulus. You didn't get any stimulus money from this, did you?
No, but certain agencies has helped the tour out. The California community colleges brought the Extreme Tour out to California through their economic and workforce development program. So there has been some government interest in helping the youth of America get onto their feet and start their own companies. And so
again, you're taking this all over the US, and I know especially in California, but where are some of the places that you're going in particular?
Well, the Extreme Entrepreneurship Tour has been around since 2006. It's been touring all over the country. Most recently, it's come out to California. It just did 18 stops throughout California.
And do you know some of the cities that they went to? Or
they went to Fresno, Long Beach, lots of other places.
Okay.
I spoke on about 4 of the tours.
But they have speakers.
Yeah, every one of them has a number of guest speakers. So the main people that run it, the company was started by Michael Simmons, and he also takes Arel Moody, America's top young speaker. So both of those guys are present at all of the events. And each event features 2 to 3 young entrepreneurs, all of which are successful in one or other facet of business, as well as a panel of local experts.
And there are I know there are several internet entrepreneurs who are involved in this?
Yeah, a lot of, well, the key factor is it's all young people. So it's people that the target audience of, the 17 to 24 range, they can all identify with. So these are amazing people who've made millions on internet companies or.
Well, the one kid is a teenager, I think, right?
Yeah. There's guys who started up internet sales companies that sold for millions when they were still in their teen years.
Wow.
There's guys who started up and marketed products that have then sold for exceptional amounts of money. But they're all under 30. They're all successful, and they've all got a good message.
Well, I haven't met Michael, but I talked to him last night on the phone, and he mentioned too, which is kind of interesting, that they didn't necessarily want, well, I guess I won't say the name he gave, but not necessarily just well-known people, but as you said, successful young people and good speakers, that they weren't just going for some well-known businessman or something, an older adult. So they really they wanted good speakers, I guess.
Sure. Well, they're looking for people that have not only a message, but a good business sense and also a success story. So we have guys who are, pure marketing genius, guys who make money, through the internet or whatever else. We also have people who make money in, housing or real estate or more conventional sense. Then there's people like myself who, I go on and, I've made a product out of myself. So I'm.
You're the shark guy.
Well, I'm the shark guy, but typically when I go, I tend to speak a lot more about animal behavior and the mechanisms of thought, the ways in which we
like sharks.
Well, if we thought more like them, we'd be a lot more successful.
How so?
Well, sharks are an apex predator. They have a very, very simple manifesto, which is they have...
Eat.
Well, it is to eat, but to be a successful predator, you need to employ some very definitive tactics. I think because of all the noise that goes on in our society, a lot of people just aren't really sure how to focus their attention finitely on their success strategy. With my work with these, inarguably, successful predators, there's ways that in studying them we can apply that thinking to our mechanisms and the way that we act in the business world. And I hope that when people can identify with that, not only do they like sharks a little bit more, but they can behave a little bit more like them.
So how can I behave more like a shark? I'm just trying to, something specific. What should I be doing that I'm not?
Well, I've got something that I call, it's the Apex Strategy. I actually just wrote a book which is being released next year called Sharks Don't Scare Me, focusing on the Apex Strategy. And really, there's 3 key points to it. There's the approach, the assessment, and the attack. If we can look at our entire life and our business strategy as those 3 things, then we become more successful. The approach is everything to do with your life. It's how you conduct your day, whether it's, for us individually, it might be getting up a certain time and attacking our business things at a certain...
Do I have to get up early? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. It might be getting up earlier, it might be being more effective in looking out for business opportunities. The assessment stage is what people are most afraid of because they don't see the sharks when they're assessing us as a food source. So the assessment stage for these predators is actually critical because that's when they decide whether the prey is worthy or not. And then the attack is an absolute one-eyed conviction to go straight after that prey. And for them to call it food, for us it's to make success of the business.
I'm thinking of the assessment stage where they're like circling around out there.
Well, people think that sharks swim around and blindly go and eat and gobble up everything they see. That's absolutely ridiculous. They don't do that at all. They're actually very, very smart, very focused predators. And we usually see the final stage of all of their experience. We see the attack, we see the devastation. That's like, thinking that somebody goes out and makes $1 million tomorrow, having not done any work. It's completely ridiculous, right? So yeah, a shark will, before it goes and attacks something, it might have done 5, 10 minutes, even a couple of hours of assessment of deciding whether that prey is worthwhile attacking or seeing if it's food or not.
Okay, we'll be right back. We're going to take a break and I'm going to do some assessment and decide if there's prey. We'll be right back. And we are back with Luke Tipple from Extreme Entrepreneurship Tour. Okay, so we were talking about assessment and sizing up, and now we're ready for the attack, I guess. I'm ready for the attack.
Well, the attack's the critical, it's pulling the trigger, basically. For a shark, that's, they're actually a very cautious animal. They come from a 40 million years worth of experience of developing into this predator, and these sharks, they have a lot to lose. If they went into a situation where they could get damaged or hurt, then they lose the ability to breed and procreate and thus be a successful animal. That's really all they are really thinking about.
Do they have a lot of natural enemies or just people? Or
they don't, but they can get injured very easily. Some of their prey, let's talk about the great white shark. They go after elephant seals and California sea lions. Big animals who are also predators, but if you've ever seen the claws on those things, they're pretty vicious animals when they want to be. You see a lot of sharks with scars all around their head now. If they lose one eye, that could mean that they're therefore unsuccessful. They lose feeding opportunities, they get smaller, thinner, and ultimately die or don't become a desirable mate. And
so even for the sharks, it's a tough world out there.
It really is. It really is. So for them to go through that assessment stage is really critical. That's when they actually attack, that's why it's so devastating, because once they've decided, they go in with just full commitment. Yep, they go in and hit them like a freight train, take them out, so that then becomes food. There's no second guessing. And
so for your business, that just means go at it 100%, or?
It is. It's about setting up a strategy where in your approach and your assessment are very calculated stages. So that when you actually attack, you're ready to pull the trigger. That might be building a business to the stage where you can do it behind the scenes, and then when you launch that website of that business or whatever else, it just dominates the market. It's irrefutable. It's not sort of trickling in and kind of like just pussyfooting around a market. It's just going in and annihilating a competition.
Annihilate them, that's right.
And that really comes down to, you know...
The American way.
It is. Well, it's also the Australian way. Hey, we're pretty vicious down under as well. Oh. Yeah, it is. It's about it's knowing your market, it's knowing your competition, and knowing how to take them out.
Well, I want to talk to you more about the sharks because, as I say, besides seeing this as a business strategy or a business approach, you're actually out there with the sharks in all kinds of ways with tours and even doing some TV production and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do a few things. I do tourism, so I take people diving with great white sharks and tiger sharks. So they can actually see them face to face. I do a lot of film and television work where I'm working safety for known talent, or I'm in front of the camera talking about sharks, or I'm working in non-profits trying to save them.
And so what is the shark-free marinas?
It's a really simple concept. I started that along with a business partner at the beginning of this year in 2009. And all we're asking marinas to do is to voluntarily sign up to not accept the carcass of sharks at their facilities. So we're still allowing fishermen to go out and have their sport. We're still supporting all catch and release because that's vital for data. We never get to see these animals otherwise.
Shark fishing is a problem.
Shark fishing is a problem, and it's a much bigger problem overseas. But I think here in in Western countries, we're able to set a standard, and that standard is not to go after endangered species. And the plain truth of it is, many of the targeted species are considered endangered.
Are great white sharks considered endangered?
Absolutely, and they're one of the few sharks that are actually protected. But we get a lot of sharks such as the lemon shark, the tiger shark, the hammerhead, all of which are considered endangered, and all of them are being targeted for sport fishing as well as human consumption.
In Australia and America too?
Absolutely, yeah. In America there's a lot of sport fishing or shark fishing tournaments. So it's
not illegal, it's still happening.
It's not illegal. Just because they're considered endangered doesn't mean it's illegal to catch them. There are certain quotas that people have to work within, but we think we're choosing to act proactively and to go to the marinas and say, hey, look, tell your clients to go out, to go fishing, do whatever they like, but they have to release their catch when it's an endangered species, and they can't bring it back to the dock. If we can get 7 out of 10 marinas to sign up for that, then that means that monitoring those few marinas for illegal catches becomes much easier.
And you are getting marinas to sign up?
Oh, we are. Yeah, we're getting a very good response. We've had we've got 40 or 50 marinas signed up at the moment.
Wow.
We're launching an initiative next year, which will have another 500 in association with the Humane Society. And we're making slow but definite progress.
Well, thanks to the Jaws movies, everybody thinks of the great white shark as the big bad enemy or bad guy. Sure. So it's kind of hard to think of it on the endangered species list. But we were talking earlier about some of the things you do, though, that there are actually ways that, well, how do you protect talent when you're on location and you're trying to protect somebody from a great white shark, or the da-da-da it's coming in? There's some electronic things they've got now, or what do you actually do?
Well, there's a few strategies. Number one, we can use cages. I build certain cages for different types of movie sets so that they fit within the filming framework, and that means people are pretty well protected. If they need to be in the open water, we can use safety divers who know what they're doing to keep the sharks away, or we can use things like the electronic devices, Shark Shield, which I represent. You wear them just like a surfboard leash without the surfboard, and it emits an electronic pulse around your body, creating a field that the sharks don't want to come near. So there's various ways that we do it.
And now, I'm sorry, I'm not a surfer, but so when you're saying, is that like an ankle bracelet or something?
Yeah, it attaches to your ankle. It's like a 6-foot leash that just hangs off you. You could also hang it off a float nearby you if you were spearfishing or something and didn't want that extra encumberment. And basically, you ever see the Bruce Lee ab belt? They advertise on late night TV sometimes. It's a belt that you put on your abs and you're supposed to get electronic contractions from it. It's actually just like that. When a shark comes near it, they're so muscly that they actually get twitches from the electronic pulse.
And this really does work?
It does work.
Nobody's been eaten?
No one's been eaten. And you see them when they...
But if it doesn't work, we wouldn't know because they would be eaten and then we wouldn't hear about it. So,
well, we've done a lot of product testing. Really, when you see... I've tested on 16, 17-foot great white sharks. I've allowed them to come close and close and close, and when they start entering that electronic field, you can see them. Their body starts to twitch and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger until they realize that something's wrong here and they don't feel comfortable and they leave.
And it doesn't affect the people, though. You don't start twitching too.
No. It works on a different frequency for our muscles than their muscles. They're a lot more sensitive to electronic stimulus than we are.
Now, is this? I know you've done some stuff for MythBusters. Is that what you were doing for them, or was there other kinds of footage?
For those guys, we used the shark shields. Their insurance agency wouldn't actually allow them in the water without the protection of a cage or a steel shark suit. So, so we used a couple of different methods to be able to get them in the water. If you see on the footage, they're in the cage a lot, and I'm the one outside feeding or tangling with the sharks.
You're the one outside. Huh?
Well, the insurance company cleared me. Those guys are worth a lot of money to
Two
Discovery.
legs and 2 arms. Okay, you're doing okay so far.
Full compliment so far. Yeah.
Well, in our final minute, since we're talking about MythBusters and the sharks, are there any myths about the great white sharks that people should know about that you want to dispel right now?
Well, I mean, there's a lot, but I think if anybody can just take with them the message that they are a very calculating and cautious predator. People think they're just really mindless, carnivores. They're very efficient at what they do, but it's easier to empathise with the plight that sharks are going on in the world when people realise that they are actually functioning as a species that it's going out with a goal. It needs to eat, it needs to procreate, and it's not just a mindless killer.
They're just trying to get by like the rest of us.
Just trying to get by. They do it very well, and they do it very scarily for us. It's natural to be afraid of them. We're not supposed to be in the water, but
get out of the water. That kept me out of the water as a kid.
There's ways that we can co-inhabit in the same environment. So if they're worried about it, it's better to do some research rather than just be scared and try to kill them.
Thank you very much, Luke Tipple.
Pleasure.
Good luck with the Extreme Entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
And the charts and the sharks and the shark-free marinas, and we'll be right back with the loneliest road in America.
Drink up, buddies.
Thank you, Hank. You're such a doll.
Okay.
Well, well, Hank. Looks like we got some pretty meat in here.
Yo, she's taken.
Oh, I wasn't talking about her. You see, we usually don't get prime rib bitches around here, so I ain't into them anymore.
Jesus.
Oh, that's right. I'm a pervert with a capital P, boy.
And we are back, and joining me now is Mardana Mayginnes and Colin Michael Day from the Loneliest Road in America. Great to have you here today, Michael.
Thanks
and
for having us.
Mardana.
Awesome.
So, and first of all, I learned, they say you should learn something every day, and I did learn something watching this movie, that there really is the loneliest road in America.
Yes, there is. It's actually, the main stretch of it is in Nevada, and it travels right through the center between pretty much like Reno and the Utah border.
That's what, like US 50 or something like that?
Yeah, US Highway 50, and it's called the loneliest road in America because there's big, long stretches where you'll drive about
They got signs up too. Just saying.
Yeah, there's signs that say it, but ultimately there's big stretches of like 100 miles or so where there's nothing. Like
Sounds kind of dreary, depressing, I don't know.
super depressing.
Depressing.
But it is almost like repressed society, but not necessarily in a way that somebody repressed them. It's like living there, you're repressing yourself.
And so you said this is perfect material for a movie.
Absolutely.
Well, it's beautiful out there as well.
Yeah.
It was beautiful scenery. I haven't been to Denver in years, but it was just amazing.
It's great.
Yeah, I mean, some of the characters you run into, like Dynamite Bob, I told you on the phone, he's actually a real guy, Lewis.
So this is, at the end it'll say based on, you can't say that there's a coincidence, huh? That these actually are real people.
But we actually put him in the film, so we gave him a credit as himself.
Ah,
so.
oh.
Yeah.
But so the point of the movie, without giving away too much, is that your character sets out to on a road trip for.
Yeah, I mean, sits out on a road trip with his best friend Matt, but he's setting out because he's kind of lost. Like he has a girlfriend back home, but he's feeling kind of trapped. It's not like he doesn't love her, but he's confused, and he's traveling, to.
Yeah, ultimately, it's really a story about discovering your purpose on the planet.
Yeah.
And, a lot of different cultures had their vision quest or whatever when they would go out on a journey. And ultimately, he is feeling this kind of turmoil of being at home and not really exploring his opportunities. And he doesn't really understand where he fits in a modern-day society. Because it's not like back, you get back from the war in the 50s and then you get your job and then get your house, your family, and move to the suburbs and live in a fantasy world that's not even really real. Here it's like, okay, well, if I work really hard in school, is my job going to be outsourced to India?
Right.
And what do you do?
Yeah.
And ultimately, these locations, and that's what really kind of speaks in the film, is that happened to these communities like 20, 30 years ago. These towns were thriving, in the silver mining industry. Later, it became minerals, like lithium for batteries.
I use lithium batteries a lot. So
Exactly. But a lot of these companies just found it not really cost worthy to pay all these people that much money, so they moved to different countries like Canada or Mexico or South America. And so they've already experienced the abandonment.
Now, and one of you is actually from that area?
I'm from Denver.
You're from Denver, okay, and you're from Northern California?
I'm from Northern California, but really the area that we're speaking is directly, the most important part is in Nevada.
In Nevada, okay.
And I used to drive through that road, I probably drove it like 20 times, and always encountered something.
Thought, what in the hell happened here?
Crazy.
There's always something going on. You're not expecting it either.
Now that you picked up a female passenger along the way,
yes.
is this based on anyone, or?
Yeah.
There's a little female trouble in the movie, I guess, or a little.
Yes. Well, there's always, like women sometimes, make us, a young boy react probably not in the way he should, but the temptation, of girls. And it's actually based on somebody we know, but.
And what was her reaction? You told me a little bit last night, but she knew that it was based on her?
Yeah, well,
figured it out.
Have you heard from the lawyers?
She wrote me a text saying like, what? I included one story about her.
I'm not really an evil, conniving. Oh, no.
No. Well, she's not evil. She's really sweet, actually.
Sweetheart.
But the whole idea was that basically, she has her faults too. Like all the characters are very, they're not just like good or bad. They have all different traits that you would, skeletons in the closet like a lot of people do have. And hers was, she was a little promiscuous back in the day, and so, but that doesn't seem to deter. My friend
It didn't bother you at all, huh?
Not at all.
But you said, though, in a weird, twisted kind of way, though, the women are actually a metaphor for...
Yes. Basically, ultimately, we're trying to speak about the communities and what's kind of happening, all the wealth leaving America and going to, other places where corporations can thrive. And so I ultimately based his character off of like a fledgling corporation. And his girlfriend is kind of like the community that the corporation starts out. It does really good by its community, serves its members well, and then moves on and branches out to other communities, which would be the next girl. And kind of lives in that realm until ultimately the corporation understands the idea of the bottom line and then moves to Mexico because it's cheap labor. And ultimately, it explores this idea of like maybe this character is, a good person, but ultimately corporations have no soul. And they will just exploit the bottom line.
So is this the guys' take on women? The women have no soul? Is that what you're...
No.
Or the women's take?
No, the men have
the
no
men
soul.
have no soul. Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Okay, so the women won't complain about that because it's more male bashing.
The female characters,
bashing.
all of them, try to do right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they
Because you
try to
actually, like I said, I don't want to give away too much, but that's true. Actually, you are kind of a bastard, though, toward the end, right?
You're kind of following me along, and you're like, you really want him. You're like, you're with him the whole way, and by the end, you're like, what the heck just happened?
You get some of those reactions. Like I've had some people come away and they're just like, "Oh my God, how could he be so brutal like that?" And I was like, "Did you hear about Halliburton? Right? It moved to Dubai. Wasn't that one of the companies we fed billions of dollars during the war?" And yeah, it just abandoned us now.
Well, now Dubai's going under too, so.
Yeah. Thank the Lord that Halliburton, hopefully they'll take Halliburton with them. So.
Well, I see so many big budget movies that it's always nice that when you see, an independent film, that's just well shot, it looks great. Can you tell us anything about the budget on this? I mean, it's, it always, I'm amazed when I hear, because it looks like it costs a lot of money.
Yeah. It was like the shooting budget was $68,000, and one of our really huge weapons was this guy Tony McGrath. He's an Australian bred guy. He grew up in the commercial industry. Like when we were kids, he directed the music video, Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we were fans of him without even knowing that we were fans of him. And then I ran into him in the commercial industry. That's kind of where I came up, being a production assistant and working with different directors. And he is just brilliant with the camera.
And you shot it in about 17 days?
Yeah, 17 days, and then one reshoot day, and then we did some B-roll pickups just driving along the road, and some of the big time-lapse shots that we saw.
And we're almost out of time, but so where can people see this? Are you rolling it out to the film festival circuit, or what's your plan for
Film
getting it out
festival
there?
circuit.
We're looking at film festival circuits through the spring all over America. So we haven't, heard yet where we're going to get back, but probably in the next month or two, we're going to start getting in our acceptances, or if we're not accepted at some. But I'm guessing around like South by Southwest and Slam Dance and
Portland, Seattle,
Portland.
stuff like that.
Well, thank you very much, Michael Colin
Thank
Day
you.
and Mardana Mayginnes.
Very good.
Keep an eye out for Loneliest Road in America
Yes.
at a film festival near you. And thanks also to Luke Tipple. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.